Welcome to Subway Sports Talk.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
All right, here we go. Subway Sports Talk. My name is Peter Kennedy, and I am your host. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning into SST on Apple Podcast app, Spotify, and on YouTube. We're here with a good one today. We got two main topics to talk about for today's podcast, and it's very simple. We're going to talk about the New York Knicks, who now sit at 3-3 after their loss to the Houston Rockets. And then I got a nice conversation about the NFL at large, talking about quarterback coaching combos. That seems like the big ticket item, right? That's what we care about most, what we talk about most. It's what we know about most, frankly. Obviously, like outside of your fantasy teams and etc. We're talking about the crux of the NFL contenders, the NFL losers, the weenies, everyone in between. We're talking about quarterbacks. We're talking about coaches. Now think about this before I get to the Knicks. Off the top of your head, how many quarterback coach combos in the league right now out of 32 are their fan bases, are their organizations satisfied with? Off the top of your head, I'm curious what you think right now. Is it 10 quarterback coach combos that teams are satisfied with? Is it 20? We're going to break it down team by team in just a little bit. But first, we're talking about the New York Knicks. A lot of people right now in the Knicks world are upset with the Knicks' performances, and it's something that I don't quite understand. Do you want this team to be 3-3? No. Of course, you'd like to be 5-1. You'd like to be 6-0. You'd like to be even 4-2. I get it. You'd like to see the efficiency rankings come out and see the Knicks defense, which has been their staple under successful Tibbs seasons, and you'd like to see that in the top 10. Well, right now we sit here at 3-3, and you think about where the Knicks are, and the negativity that is living in the Knicks world right now is something that I just don't subscribe to. People are talking a lot about how the defense doesn't look right, the offense doesn't look right, something's off, something's broken. Why did we make the trades? Do we need Mikal Bridges? Why did we break up the group? Look what Randall's doing in Minnesota right now. We miss Dante. Karl-Anthony Towns is soft. The foul trouble thing is real. Okay, listen. All those arguments that people are making right now, if they are valid at all, they're only valid right now. It's 6 games in. This is a new team. Continuity is not fully on their side. Yes, of course, you got Brunson and Hart, and OG's back and playing, and Miles McBride is doing a great job off the bench. But the change in complete energy, ball movement, necessities on offense and defense is very, very palpable. Mikal Bridges, obviously the new piece, and of course, Karl-Anthony Towns, the newest and biggest piece. This is going to take time. People act like the Knicks, after just one season of true success last year, now obviously second round 2 years in a row here, but last year was really like a turning point where they were just a juggernaut level team in the second half after the All-Star break. They were awesome, right? And it all makes sense. I get it. It was exciting as hell. It felt great watching OG, Randall, and that squad with Hartenstein and obviously all the other boys just crushing teams when they had that incredible run after the OG trade. And then OG gets hurt, Randall gets hurt, Mitchell Robinson's in and out. And it goes back to earth a little bit, but here you are in the playoffs. You beat the Sixers. It feels good. You play the Pacers, and if they weren't hurt, you feel like they would have won that series. So now we come into the season with a lot of hype, a lot of expectation about the Knicks being truly a top dog in the Eastern Conference. Well, this doesn't happen right away. What happened last year after OG Anunoby joined the New York Knicks and they went on a tear is not normal. That's not how big changes usually happen. It's not usually as seamless as you think it would be. I mean, you could think back to the greatest examples. You could think back to the big ones, right? LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. They took time to get right. And of course, I'm not comparing Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, and Karl-Anthony Towns to those three Hall of Famers. But the point stands. You got three guys who are used to playing different roles in different offenses and different roles in different defenses. Now you're meshing together. Now you got moving parts. And now you got such a small sample size that these stats that you'll see floating around Twitter, these things that are being said on a broadcast or on a podcast that you listen to, it just doesn't matter yet. So if you're sitting here watching the Knicks lose to the Houston Rockets, where they got outplayed, they got out-physicaled, they out-Knicksed the Knicks, if you ask me, it doesn't matter yet. I don't care yet, right? Because what was the big-time question mark coming into this season? How is the offense going to gel? Where are the shots going to go to? And then the other one was who's going to protect the rim, right? Those are the two big questions. So if you look at what's conspired here over the first 6 games, you're looking at a Knicks team that has a top 3 offensive rating in the NBA. So the offense is working. For the lack of, counting points, it's just a different style here, right? The Knicks don't play games in the 130s and 140s like some other teams do. You watch a Charlotte Hornets game, and you're almost guaranteed a 130 by either the other team or by Charlotte, right? Because that's just how they play. They play incredibly fast. The Knicks' pace is bottom in the league. They're 30th in pace. They play slow, right? So offensive rating is not just one-to-one on total points scored. It has to do with efficiency, has to do with per possession and all that stuff, right? So the Knicks are number 3 in the NBA when it comes to offensive rating. If you look at their schedule and you see 109, 123, 104, 116, 128, and 97, you're going to say, how in the world is that team a top 3 offense according to the statistic? 2 things. 1, small sample size. Again, right? Are the Knicks the 3rd best offense in the NBA? I don't know. They're ranked ahead of the Oklahoma City Thunder right now. They're ranked ahead of the Golden State Warriors, who have been awesome this year. So, small sample size. The Knicks are 3. Maybe they're not the 3rd best offense, but that's a damn good sign for a portion of this team that we expected to take more time to gel. So now flip to the other side. The Tibbs staple, the New York Knicks staple over the last few years has been their defense. Well, right now, they are ranked 19th in defensive rating. That's not very good, right? Again, you look at their points, 132 to Boston, then 98 to Indiana, 110 to Cleveland, 107 to Miami, 98 to Detroit, and 109 to Houston. Those numbers don't tell a full story yet again. So if you went to the offensive and defensive ratings just before the Houston game on Monday night, the Knicks were ranked all the way up at 25th on November 1st. I'm sorry, before the Detroit game. They were ranked 25th. So after beating Detroit and losing to Houston, they jumped from 25th to 19th. Again, small sample size. This stuff is not set in stone. This is the portion of the season where if the Knicks go out and play really good defensively against Atlanta and Milwaukee in the next 2 games here on Wednesday and Friday night, they can be 13th by the end of this week, right? So these numbers don't tell the story. What does tell the story is what you are seeing with your eyes, with what you are seeing from some of the other things. So it's important to note with this team being different, and I'm using air quotes right here, different from last year. First off, on the offense is where I'm going to start. We're very concerned. We're very curious about how this team is going to net out. We're very curious about where the shots are going to go. And I saw Bill Simmons on his podcast this week, a guy whose basketball opinion I obviously respect greatly, and I listen to his podcast all the time. He ranked the Knicks 7th in his power rankings overall. 7th, pretty good, not too shabby, right? For a team that's 3-3 to start the year, he ranked them 7th. He was talking about Mikal Bridges, and he said it's weird that a team traded for a guy and gave up all these assets to not really use him much. And that's something that's a little interesting to me because I was watching these games too. And Mikal Bridges is pretty involved. He should be more involved though, right? But at the end of the day, Mikal's taking 14 shots a game. He's taking 6 threes a game, which is give or take in line what he's done, kind of middling what he's done in Brooklyn and what he's done in Phoenix. And if you break down what you want Mikal Bridges' role to be, it is exactly somewhere between what he did in Phoenix and what he did in Brooklyn. And if you also break down what Mikal Bridges has been in his career, he's been about 4 or 5 threes per game until he went to Brooklyn, where he jacked that up to 6 or 7 threes a game. Right now, he's at 6.5 threes at 38%. And just like I told you guys before game 1 and after game 1, wasn't worried about this man's jump shot. I was not worried. And yeah, guess what? It looks better already. Through 6 games, he's shooting 38% from 3 on 6.5 attempts. That's damn good. Now, there is a place for him to go up in this category. Because right now, with this team, you look at the breakdown, you look who's getting the shots, you look who's getting time, and something is off. And it's clearly the depth, right? But it's also important to note that in the breakdown of shots, in this pie chart of offensive usage, the whole thing is being flipped on its head. I think Knicks fans are remembering the playoffs where Randall wasn't playing. At the end, OG Anunoby wasn't playing. And Isaiah Hartenstein, for all we loved out of Isaiah Hartenstein, wasn't a guy who took a ton of shots. He just didn't. He wasn't a volume shooter. Neither was Mitchell Robinson. So now you have Karl-Anthony Towns, who is averaging 15 shots a game right now, which equals more than Isaiah Hartenstein, Mitchell Robinson, and Precious Achiuwa's shots per game combined. It's about the same, give or take. It's about 13 and a half shots from those 3 combined last year. And now it's about 15 shots from Karl-Anthony Towns through 6 games. So that's right off the bat, a really big change in what we saw this year versus last year. Also, Miles McBride has been forced upon and handling it very well so far into this true 6-man role where he's now relied upon to be a scorer, a shooter, and a creator. He's taking 9 shots. But the crux of this issue is this team is thin right now offensively. This team is thin overall. We're looking at Cam Payne and Jericho Sims playing every game so far this year. Jericho Sims is not meant to play every game for this team. And yeah, we all like Ariel Hook-Purdy right now. He seems like he has some juice. He's got some energy. He can throw in some massive dunks and make some splash plays. He's not meant to play every game right now. Precious Achiuwa being out is actually a huge piece to this puzzle. And I think when he returns to the lineup, it gives you a different level of flexibility with this team to go small, to still create the space that Jalen Brunson needs and Mikal Bridges needs, and to give Cat those blows that he needs. And also to cover Cat's ass when he gets in foul trouble like he does all the time. But the numbers are netting out positively. Jalen Brunson is still netting out very positively. He's averaging 26 points per game right now. He's shooting a great number. He's shooting 50% from 3 right now. That's damn good. He's taking 5 threes a game. That's about his average. That's where you want him to be. So this offense, and I'm seeing OG Anunoby do more good things offensively as well, be a little bit more assertive. This offense makes sense to me. Where they fall short, where they come up a little bit weak, is the depth. It is the depth. Is there something else that needs to be done to add to this team? Possibly. But I think as you get accustomed to each other as teammates, you're going to see Mikal Bridges' shots go from that just under 14 number to just over 15. And I think that 17 points per game that he's shooting right now or scoring right now, which is pretty good on damn good efficiency, is going to climb up to 19. And that's where you want it to be. So this offense makes sense to me. And when Precious Achiuwa returns, it's going to make more sense. Because as much as Sims looks great flying for rebounds or Hook-Purdy looks good every time he goes up for a massive jam, Precious Achiuwa is a proven offensive rebounder. He's a proven fast break guy. He's a proven rim roller who can put some points on the board. He's not the most efficient player of all time. He's not the best player of all time. We know what Precious is. I think Knicks fans have a good feeling of what Precious Achiuwa is and what he is not. What he is a solid backup big man. And when he returns to health and joins this squad, you're going to see a more balanced attack offensively when Cat's not off the floor. And it's not going to feel as drastic when you have to have Cat or Brunson on the court, and then it's not just Bridges running around by himself. That's not going to happen. It's going to feel more balanced. It's going to make more sense. So yes, Bridges needs to be a little more aggressive. He needs to find his way. But after 6 games, I'm satisfied. Most importantly, because the shot looks good. And that wasn't a concern, and it's still not. OG Anunoby, his shot looks great. He's shooting damn 45% from 3. His shot looks good. He's showing some more offensive juice. Got to keep him healthy. Got to keep him doing what he's doing. So offensively, I think we're on the same page here. They're netting out as the third best offense in the league. That's probably a little higher than where they'll end up, in my opinion. I think they end up a little lower in that efficiency mark, but that's a great sign. So if that was your concern, that concern can be put to rest for now. And I'm not worried that they got out physicaled by Houston. I'm not worried that they got run out of the gym by Boston and beat by the Cleveland Cavalier team, who's been the second best team in the Eastern Conference, one of the best teams in the NBA so far this year. So if you're nervous about the offense, take a chill pill. Now let's talk about the defense, because that's a part that is a little bit more fluid as far as positivity and negativity. Two things here. This defense is built to make turnovers, right? When you look at Miles McBride, you look at Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, and OG Anunoby. That's the strength of their defense. Last year, with Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson, the strength of their defense was protecting the rim. And then you allow Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo and Miles McBride to be a little more aggressive, to get in the passing lanes, because Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson are cleaning everything up down low. This is different now. Karl-Anthony Towns is not as bad of a defender as his reputation. He's fine. He's okay. He gets and makes stupid fouls. We know this, right? But he's not the rim protector that these other guys were. And that has to recalibrate amongst this team. And you're already seeing it in certain matchups, like you saw against Houston on Monday night. You're going to see more OG Anunoby guarding Alperen Şengün's of the world. But frankly, when you look across this league, there aren't that many Şengün's. There aren't that many Sabonis's and Embiid's and Jokic's, right? I just named almost all of them, right? That's it. That's basically all of them. And like, if you go play Jonas Valanciunas in freaking Washington, go ahead, Jonas, go off, King, go for 22 and 14. Don't care, right? So if Cat is your concern right now on defense, I'll tell you this: don't stress it yet, because the recalibration of how this defense thrives is more important than what they've put out over the first 6 games. And on top of that, I read all the point totals out already. It's not like they're giving up 130 points a game here as the 19th ranked defensive rating team in the league. They have given up 130 once. They have given up over 120 0 other times. They gave up 110 once and 109 once. That's it. They've only given up over 100 points 1, 2, 3, 4 times out of the 6 games. That's great. Most teams would love to have 2 games in a month where they don't give up 100 points. The Knicks do it. It's because the pace, it's because how they play on offense, and it's because their defense is good. It's going to net out better, right? And again, from these statistics, the Boston Celtics shot not a season, but an NBA record threes in the game. And if they didn't miss 13 in a row in the fourth quarter, this defensive rating probably would still be 25th. So I'm not concerned about 3-3 because you got run out the gym on game 1 against the best team in the league. I'm not concerned that they lost to Cleveland because Cleveland's playing fantastic ball right now, and their continuity is extremely real. Darius Garland is healthy and playing amazing basketball right now. Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, Dean Wade, all these guys are there. It's completely continuitous. It is what it is. It's the same squad. They're ready to roll, ground running. The Knicks are not hitting the ground running, and they're still playing solid ball. There's no reason for overreaction. There's no reason for massive concern when it comes to this Knicks team. So if you're sitting out here all nervous, oh my God, the Knicks efficiency rating, I can't believe the offense is good, the defense is bad. Who's the coach this team? Who's the Tibbs that I know? Karl-Anthony Towns is soft. He can't do it. Give it some time. With Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, and Miles McBride, and when Precious Achiuwa returns, the balance of power amongst this Knick rotation will make a lot more sense. A lot more sense. And again, remember, when it comes to a shot breakdown chart and you're trying to think about last year and how this team looked last year, it is super different. Randall, almost 20 shots a game. at the end of the year, Dante DiVincenzo, and in the playoffs, my God, it felt like he was shooting as much as Brunson sometimes, right? This is a different calibration. It's a different game. Cat offensively is looking fantastic. The Brunson Cat pick and roll looks like what we hoped it could look like. These things are great. Cat shooting 57% from three. He's only taking 3 a game right now, and maybe you'd like to see that number go to 4 or 5. But the offense is good. The defense, sure. Have your minor concerns right now. Keep them minor. Keep them minor. Because you're going to look up in a week or two, and that defensive rating is going to be a lot better. You're going to look up in a month or two, and this team will still sit in the top 3 of the Eastern Conference, and there's no reason to concern yourself about the New York Knicks so far in 2024. Subway Sports Talk. Pete Kennedy, what's up? We're here. We're talking sports as what we do. There's nothing else going on in the world that I can think of that I'd want to talk about other than this right here, right now. Huh? How about that? I don't know what else we could possibly talk about. Subway Sports Talk on socials at Subway Sports Talk. Also on your podcast app, Apple, Spotify, Google. I don't know. Where else do you listen to podcasts? Where do people listen to podcasts? I listen on Spotify, Apple, whatever. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you very much. Don't forget, we're going to have more episodes this week. I got a great guest later in the week. My buddy from The Fan, my boy Allison Trone, will be joining the podcast on Friday morning. I believe we're going to record Thursday night. But we're not done yet here today. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, that whole 9, right? But here we go. The second portion of this podcast, I want to talk about a very specific thing when it comes to the NFL. When it comes to something we talk about more than anything else around the NFL. And I ain't talking about gambling this time. I ain't talking about your fantasy team. I'm not talking about the Jets or Giants. Well, not yet, not specifically. I'm talking about everybody. Because what we talk about most is quite simply quarterbacks and head coaches. It's the 2 most notable people on most teams. Yeah, of course, you have your star wide receivers, your star running backs, your star defensive ends and linebackers, whatever. But at the end of the day, more often than not, if you're a real football fan, if you're a guy who watches all day on Sunday, you can probably name every quarterback and you can probably name most coaches, right? Like I went through this and I wrote down all the coaches' names to make sure I don't make a stupid mistake here or, remind myself who took over for Dennis Allen in New Orleans here. I almost forgot Dennis Allen's name. Because I don't know who Darren Rizzi is. I don't know much about Darren Rizzi here, but you know your quarterbacks and you know your coaches. Now, I asked at the beginning of the podcast, off the top of your head, how many teams right now in 2024 are satisfied with their quarterback coach combo? And when I say satisfied, I'm kind of looking at it 2 ways because you can't grade all the quarterbacks and all the coaches exactly the same. For example, you can't grade Brian Callahan, who is the head coach of the Tennessee Titans, the same way that you would grade Mike McDaniels or Mike McCarthy, for that matter. Brian Callahan is coach of the Titans. It's his first year, and his team stinks, right? So if you're a Titans fan, are you sitting here blaming Brian Callahan for being a bad team? If you are, sure, knock yourself out. I'm not going to do that because he's working with Will Levis, Mason Rudolph, no wide receiver talent, and a defense that's not the same as it was a few years ago, right? So I'm not going to sit here and say Brian Callahan's part of the problem. On the other side, I maybe am not going to sit here and say that, I don't know, Caleb Williams is the problem in Chicago. And we're going to get to him. I'm not trying to give away my whole segment here yet. I'm just using it as an example. So maybe Caleb Williams, you're satisfied with as a Bears fan right now because you're still in that honeymoon phase. You're still in the feel out phase. So as of today, going into week 10 here, you don't wish that someone else was your quarterback if you're a Chicago Bears fan. If you're the organization, you're not saying, well, maybe you're wishing you had Jaden Daniels. That's a different story. But you're not saying Caleb Williams needs to be benched right now because he is your future. He is your investment. He is your pick. So, yeah, I'm not going to say that he is a no in this category. I'm going to put Caleb Williams as a yes because it's obvious that you have to have him as your quarterback right now. So, therefore, you're satisfied that Caleb Williams is your quarterback. Does that make sense? I think so, right? So again, you can't grade everybody the same. So generally speaking, I'm grading on 2024. Are you satisfied with your quarterback? Are you satisfied with your coach? In those other specific instances where it's like a rookie quarterback, a first year coach, somebody who's injured, or something like that, we're going to put a little asterisk or we're going to make that note, but you can't grade them everybody exactly the same. All right. So I'm going to go through every team here, 1 to 32, starting in the AFC East, and we're going to roll through it. Now, I want to take your guess. Remember, guess that number. How many teams do you think are satisfied with both coach and quarterback? So, AFC East, we got the Buffalo Bills in first place. We got Josh Allen, Sean McDermott. Pretty simple. That's a yes, yes. Satisfied, satisfied. McDermott, you can probably knit your picks if you want. Pick your knits. I don't care how you say it. You could if you probably want to, but guess what? They're playing damn good ball, and they're in first place in the East, and they ain't looking back. This is the Bills division by a long shot. So yes, you are satisfied with Josh Allen and Sean McDermott. On to Miami. I put yes asterisk for Tua Tagovailoa because the injuries, right? But if you're being truthful about the Dolphin situation, you are already seeing how much better this offense looks when Tua is playing quarterback. So I'm putting yes asterisk because they've had bad quarterback play without him so far. But with Tua, you're saying yes. You're satisfied that he's playing quarterback for you now versus Skylar Thompson, right? Or Huntley. So he's a yes. Obviously, the asterisk with the health there for him. And if you're talking about on to 2025 for that example, different conversation. But right here, right now, the Miami Dolphins are satisfied with Tua, and they're definitely satisfied with Mike McDaniels. On to the New York Jets, Aaron Rodgers and Jeff Ulbrich. I mean, this is a tough one, right? This is one of those asterisks by a long shot because if you're looking at the Jets season right now, Aaron Rodgers hasn't been very good. Has Aaron Rodgers been the main problem? I'd say no, personally. I'd say the offensive line has been a bigger problem. I'd say the coaching has been a bigger problem. So I'm going yes to Aaron Rodgers and then no to Ulbrich / Robert Saleh here because you have Aaron Rodgers. He is your quarterback. There isn't an option here where you can imagine someone else being the Jets starting quarterback right now. So I'm saying yes, asterisk, because his play is only putting him to a certain point. But you also know that he absolutely is your best chance to run the table here. And you are so reliant upon him playing well. And in fact, he has been playing decent ball. I know you can point to some negativity, some lack of mobility when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, but at this point in time, they're well above, not well above, but they're above the league average in EPA per play on quarterback dropbacks. And now with Devontae Adams, we're seeing some juice. And frankly, we're talking about a team here in the New York Jets that if their kicking game was in order here, this whole playoff hopeful situation that we're looking at for the Jets is a lot better, a lot more hopeful. And I ain't blaming Aaron Rodgers for the kicking game being bad. Of course, he's come short on a few drives late in games to tie games or take leads. But I think if you're a Jets fan, where you are today, you're not satisfied overall, but I think you have to be satisfied with Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback. On to New England. This one's pretty easy. It's going to be a yes to Drake May and a no to Gerard Mayo. And it's a little tough because Mayo, obviously, being in his first year, should deserve a different scale here. But I do believe it's been handled a little bit weird. I think people in Patriots world are not thrilled with the atmosphere so far in New England. You're not expected to win a ton of games, so perhaps you can no asterisk that. But there's a world where Mayo doesn't return as the coach next year. There's a world where the offensive coordinator becomes the more important job in New England next year. Drake May, you are satisfied. You love what you're seeing so far out of the rookie quarterback in New England. From Gerard Mayo, you're feeling a little bit uneasy about it. And obviously you've had Belichick for so long. It's probably too tough of a scale to just firm no Gerard Mayo here. But I don't think Patriots fans are sitting here feeling very inspired about Mayo. So I'm going yes to May, no to Mayo. AFC North, pretty easy ones here across the board. We got yes, yes for Lamar and John Harbaugh. Nothing else to be stated here. Top dog quarterback, top dog coach. This team looks like one of the better teams in the league. Their defense needs to be figured out a bit, but that's an easy yes, yes for Lamar and Harbaugh. In Pittsburgh, I'm going no, yes. No to Russ / Justin Fields. Yes to Mike Tomlin. Another easy one there. Russell Wilson, yeah, maybe you can argue is an Aaron Rodgers situation where in the hands that you're dealt, you're happy with Russell Wilson. But I think as a Steelers fan, seeing your team compete at a high level with poor quarterback play for the last, 6 years and still make playoff appearances with bad quarterback play, and you still have this great coach, you have to start getting frustrated. You can't be satisfied with Russell Wilson. This is an organization that does a lot of stuff right, that does a lot of stuff well when it comes to player development, picking people in the draft, the whole nine. But they can't seem to get quarterback over the hump. So right now, they're a no to quarterback, but they are obviously a yes to Mike Tomlin and the coach. You go to Cincinnati, and that's a yes to me. Joe Burrow, obviously a yes, even with some of his struggles early in the year. And then Zach Taylor. Yeah, let's talk about the defense if you want. Not been great. I think they're dealt a little bit of a weird hand. They're famous for starting slow here, but if you're a Bengals fan, are you sitting here saying, all right, this has to be Zach Taylor's last hurrah? I'm not ready to say that. The offense is still doing enough to make me feel really good about what's happening with Zach Taylor being an offensive coach. Lou Anarumo, a Staten Island finest. Maybe his seat gets a little hot there in Cincinnati because he was lauded as this great defensive coordinator, and their defense has kind of gone downhill since then. But you got to sit here and feel comfortable and satisfied with Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor. In Cleveland, another easy one. It's a no, yes. No to the quarterback, yes to the head coach. Kevin Stefanski is proving himself time and time again as a good coach, somehow keeping teams competing, playing well, playing hard with Deshaun Watson. I know Jameis Winston's first start went terribly wrong, and it was a bad game for them against the Chargers. But Kevin Stefanski absolutely has earned himself the benefit of the doubt. Unfortunately, the Cleveland quarterback situation, not as much. I'm going no, yes. No to quarterback, yes to coach. AFC South. This one's pretty straightforward as well. We got a yes for Stroud and D'Amico Ryans. I know Stroud's been a little bit underwhelming here, but obviously now with Nico Collins and Diggs being hurt for a couple weeks, that hurts. Collins should return this week. That'll be huge for them. And D'Amico Ryans has been just a really good head coach since he started last year with Stroud as a quarterback. So that's a yes, easy money in the AFC South. Now you go to Indianapolis. No, yes. No to quarterback, yes to coach. Flacco, okay. Sure, you feel okay about it. You don't feel great. You definitely don't feel great, especially after how immobile he looked against Minnesota's pass rush. Anthony Richardson goes the same for him, just not for mobility, for accuracy. So it's a little inverse of Joe Flacco there. But you feel great about Shane Steichen, man. You feel great about Steichen. He's keeping you in games. He's keeping this team ultra competitive, and offensively, defensively, they're playing the right brand of football over there in Indianapolis. They just do not have the quarterback figured out just yet. Tennessee, no/yes. No to quarterback, Will Levis, Mason Rudolph. Hell no. That ain't the answer. Brian Callahan, mentioned him before as my example. That's a yes asterisk because it's his first year. And I'm not going to sit here and criticize Brian Callahan for the Titans not being good. Okay. It's his first year. Not on him. Not on him. He'll get an obligatory yes because he'll have another chance to right the ship in Tennessee as maybe they pull a trigger on a new quarterback next year. And now this one hurts. We're on to Jacksonville. I want to say yes, asterisk, no, but I can't. I can't do it. No longer can I sit here and defend Trevor Lawrence. No longer can I sit here and say he is still the answer at quarterback for Jacksonville. Now, I wanted to put yes asterisk because I'm holding out some hope, because I believe there is a good quarterback in there somewhere. But there no way in my right mind can I sit here and say, yes, Jaguar fans are satisfied with Trevor Lawrence in 2024. There's no way that in that building, in the front office, that they're saying, that's our guy. I'm so glad we paid him. Thank God Trevor Lawrence is here. They're not saying it. So I'm not going to say it. I want to. I'm rooting for it because guess what? That'll make me feel like I've been right all along. But right here, right now, I'm feeling like I've been wrong all along. And I think that's because Doug Peterson, and more importantly, Press Taylor, the offensive coordinator. I'll get him out of here. Doug Peterson did a great job getting Trevor Lawrence above water in his sophomore year, but now it has been downhill since the midway point of last season. And when I say downhill, I mean like full speed ahead, about to go What's the ski jumping thing where you go big jumps on the ski hill? That's how downhill they're going, except there's no landing ramp seemingly below right now. The Jaguars have some talent. They have Trevor Lawrence. They're supposed to be good. They're supposed to be competing. And weirdly, they keep covering spreads. And I don't know why. And I don't know how Trevor Lawrence has become this inaccurate. I don't know how he's become this unreliable. But here we are. I have defended Lawrence for 3 years now. Can't do it right now. So no in the AFC South, Jacksonville Jaguars to end up the South there. But I do think that no can turn to a yes at some point. I'm going to say that. Maybe not this year, but guess what? They're tied in. And they may not be satisfied right now, but there's a chance they could be satisfied with Trevor Lawrence in the future. I'm going to keep hope alive for just that. All right, on to the AFC West. Easy peasy here. Yes, Mahomes Reed. I'll say no more. Los Angeles Chargers, a very resounding and lovely yes. Justin Herbert, Jim Harbaugh. You feel really good. Now, if they had some better weapons on the offensive side, goddamn, you'd feel awesome. But you feel fantastic about the Herbert-Harbaugh combination. I think that's one of the best, most solid coach quarterback situations you have in the NFL right now. And it seems onward and upward for this duo here in Los Angeles. On to Denver. This one's a yes asterisk, yes. And that's because Bo Nix, right? Like if you're a Denver Broncos fan, you are obviously pleasantly surprised with Bo Nix. You think that he's playing pretty well. You're absolutely satisfied with what you're seeing in his rookie year right now. Do you think he is the answer long term? I don't know. That's a question that is kind of yet to be determined. From what I'm seeing from him, you're seeing at least a high floor. His ceiling is really, truly yet to be determined here. They don't have a ton of talent on offense. There's not some star receivers over there. Cortland Sutton's not a bad player, obviously, but they don't have a lot in his favor from a passing standpoint. And still, to this point, from an EPA play perspective, the Broncos are netting out relatively negatively, but not terrible. Like they're not bottom of the league here. Per dropback, they're about, I don't know, 6th worst in the league right now is what I'm seeing on the chart I'm watching here. So there's a lot to be desired, but again, you're not going to blame Bo Nix for that just yet. As a Broncos fan, you're absolutely satisfied, but I'll throw the asterisk just because there's a lot yet to be determined. And Sean Payton, you feel pretty damn good about the way he's getting his team to compete. The Las Vegas Raiders, pretty easy. No. Gardner Minshew, whatever. Aiden O'Connell, no, obviously not, right? Gardner Minshew, backup, relief pitcher. Yeah, sure, let's go. But as a starter, no, definitely not. And then Antonio Pierce, it just doesn't seem good enough. Doesn't seem sharp enough from a head coach standpoint to work with a quarterback like that. The defense is okay, I guess, in Vegas. I don't know. They just gave up a boatload of points in Cincinnati. Like they're not good. Uninspired. Pierce is the interim who became the head coach. Those things don't always go very great. So yeah, that's a no in Vegas. All right, on to the NFC. Washington leads the NFC East. And yes, right? Dan Quinn. How about that? You feel good about Dan Quinn. He is a coach who has had a full run of experience here, and you felt good about him as a coach, then you felt bad about him as a coach. And you felt great about him as a defensive coordinator, and now you feel pretty good about him as a head coach right now. And what that has to do with Jaden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury, maybe a lot. I don't know. But the defense in Washington getting the hell after the quarterback, I'll tell you that much. And Jaden Daniels has been a godsend for Washington football fans. It's just so impressive. That's an easy yes. And again, we talked about Herbert and Harbaugh being one of the best, most solid coach quarterback combos. You got to look at Jaden Daniels and whoever the hell his coach is right now, which is Dan Quinn, as one of those combos as well. Philadelphia, what an easy yes-no. And if you asked me a few weeks ago, I may have been on the teetering to no because Hurts didn't look that great, but he's turned up to another level. Saquon's helping that story out quite a bit, but Jalen Hurts playing good football. Nick Sirianni, what the hell, man? What the hell? I mean, I haven't seen a coach who has won games and caught as much criticism as Nick Sirianni has over the last couple of weeks. If Sirianni wasn't such a weird character in the Philadelphia Eagles story right now, we would be talking about this Eagles team picking up a ton of steam, starting to roll, starting to beat up on people. But somehow, some way, this team continues to shock everybody by nearly blowing game after game. It's impressive at this point. They're holding on. They're playing well. They're beating people with talent. They're beating people with a good quarterback in Jalen Hurts. But Nick Sirianni, what happened? I mean, 2 years ago, this guy was everything for this team. He was the heart and soul of this organization. And now he is just being ridiculed left and right, and seemingly deservingly so. All this stuff came out before the season about Hurts and Sirianni. They can't even be in the same room together. Hurts is locked in. He's trying to be a football winner. And Sirianni, they just don't see eye to eye. How does that happen? How is he still the coach? I have to imagine, unless this ends up in another Super Bowl appearance or maybe a Super Bowl win, that Nick Sirianni may not be the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles next year. And that's why that's a yes to quarterback, no to head coach. Dallas Cowboys. I really, really, really teetered on this one. I really almost said no. I almost said no to Dak and no to McCarthy. Now, I've been no to McCarthy kind of all along here, and I'm going to stick to it. I think there's a ceiling on McCarthy that we've seen. He doesn't seem to inspire his squad to play a certain way. He doesn't seem to elevate the way he should. I don't know. I've never thought he was special after he kind of phased out in Green Bay, and it's just more apparent week after week that he looks shocked on the sideline. I mean, he doesn't look like he knows what's even happening on his own team, right? And Dak Prescott, it's rubbing off. The whole organization seems like it's a mess right now. And now I picked the Dallas Cowboys to win the NFC East, feeling pretty bad about that one. But that was because of the pedigree of Dak Prescott. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Dak Prescott shouldn't be the quarterback of the Cowboys. I mean, what's your better option here? Yeah, if you're a Cowboys fan, are you satisfied with Dak Prescott? You're probably going to say no right now because of how bad it's going. But in reality, you're satisfied with Dak Prescott. And you can ask all these other teams that don't have good quarterbacks, and then they'll tell you exactly why you should feel good about Dak Prescott. Because otherwise, you're looking at all these other teams and you're saying, who? What? Flacco? Levis? Lawrence? James Winston? Gardner Minshew? Yeah, no, you know what? Dak seems pretty good, man. Dak seems okay. And I know it's been ugly. And I almost said no, but you can't. You can't say no to Dak when this is the hand that he's been dealt. I mean, given no running backs, giving 1.5 wide receivers, the offensive line isn't the powerhouse it used to be. I'm not blaming Dak for that. I'm blaming organization, and I'm blaming Mike McCarthy. On to the New York Giants. This one is a little bit tentative as well because I don't know exactly how to feel about this because we haven't seen Dable work with the right quarterback yet in New York. Daniel Jones is a no. I felt that way before the season. I still feel that way. It doesn't work. Daniel Jones, I love you. I'm sorry. It doesn't work. It's over. That's it. The anticipation isn't there. The athleticism, yeah, it's cool sometimes when you finally get an open seam and you run fast for a few seconds. There's nothing special about this guy playing quarterback. You go back to EPA per dropback. Right now, Daniel Jones, EPA per dropback is equivalent to Bo Nix, the Patriots combined quarterback room this year, the Raiders combined quarterback room this year, Dak Prescott, actually, Derek Carr and Spencer Rattler. He's worse than Caleb Williams. He's worse than what the Dolphins have put out there, and that's including all the missed Tua starts. He's worse than Trevor Lawrence, worse than Flacco and Richardson. Like, go up and down. All these mediocre quarterbacks, all these rookie quarterbacks who are trying to figure crap out. Daniel Jones, that's who he is. He's trying to figure crap out because he doesn't have any of it figured out. It's a no on Jones. I'm saying yes on Brian Dable. I know that's probably an argument with Giants fans right now. I think some Giants fans are disappointed in him. I get that. And I have an asterisk on Dable. I think Dable deserves another shot with another quarterback in New York. He does. I think he's done enough to make this offense work, to make this offense move with his hands tied at quarterback. So I'm giving him a yes asterisk, and he's one of those coaches where it's like, are we satisfied with Dable right now? No, because the whole team's not good. But are we satisfied with Dable as the head coach of the New York Giants at large? I am, because I think with a right quarterback, a decent quarterback, you're seeing an offense really work again, and I think Dable deserves that shot. On to the NFC North. Goff, Dan Campbell. How about a yes for the Detroit Lions? Yes. Jared Goff, MVP candidate right now. How you doing? And Dan Campbell, probably one of the highest approval ratings of all the coaches in the NFL right now. He may not be the best. He may not be Shanahan or McVay, but goddamn is his approval rating way up there, skyrocketed. This team plays hard, physical, smash mouth, as well as creative, right? It's one thing to be like, oh, Dan Campbell, what a meathead. Nah, we're past that. No one's saying that anymore. This team plays with an edge and with creativity, and you'll love it. Goff, Campbell, resounding yes. Minnesota. How about a yes? How about a Sam Darnold, Kevin O'Connell? Yes. Don't think we had that on our bingo card before this season. It would have been one of those, JJ McCarthy, he's playing, whatever. Who knows? He's a rookie. They're not expected to do anything. We can't say no. You can't say yes. He's an asterisk, question mark, whatever. Sam Darnold, putting up numbers, making big time plays, showing those balls that he has on him with the toughness that he's shown so far this season. Sam Darnold, I'm giving him a thumbs up, yes. If I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan, I am satisfied with Sam Darnold as my quarterback. And Kevin O'Connell, I think, speaks for himself at this point. The way this offense is playing, the way this defense is playing, and way, he's built up this resume now of being successful with Kirk Cousins, with Joshua Dobbs, with whoever he's thrown out there. You're seeing positivity from the offense in Minnesota. And again, back to the EPA per play here. Vikings, above average, man. They're in that same range as the Cardinals and just below the Packers and just above the Rams and Seahawks. They're in a good spot from an offensive standpoint. And obviously the defense being a big part of their success as well. All right, Green Bay. Yes for Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur. Yes. Yeah, it is. It's a yes for Jordan Love. And I thought about this one, and it's obviously a yes right now. You're a Green Bay Packer fan. You're the organization over there. You're excited to watch this man play quarterback every day. He has had his ups and downs this year. He has been a little bit more erratic, and I don't know who would have told you that before the season. I don't know. Maybe me. I did. I everybody out here before the season, oh, Jordan Love, is he going to be a top 5 quarterback this year? Is he a sneaky MVP candidate this year? And I told you to relax. I said, listen, year over year, we see it over and over again. These quarterbacks who burst on the scene or have this one stretch of a season that looks really freaking good, it's not always linear, especially when they're this young, right? And not everybody's Mahomes. Even Jalen Hurts, who is an MVP candidate in his own right? Like, he had his struggles. He had his things where he had to figure stuff out. And I'm not saying Jordan Love's going to stink. I'm not saying he stinks right now. I'm just saying the love got too crazy for Jordan Love before this season. So right now, do you feel as good about Jordan Love as you did before the season started? I'd say no, but overall, you absolutely still feel good about Jordan Love, and you definitely feel good about Matt LaFleur, who has been even successful with Malik Willis, who looked like a useless player when he played quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, and he looked good, right? The Packers run the ball good. They're in the upper third from EPA per play per drop back, looking good. Okay, so I'm slowing your roll on Jordan Love, but I do respect and understand that he's good and exciting. And if I was a Packers fan, I'd be thrilled to have him as my quarterback right now. On to Chicago, Caleb Williams, Matt Eberflus. I got a yes asterisk for Caleb Williams. I already kind of said this one during the example portion earlier. I know he's been bad and erratic. I know he's had poor moments, but the hand that Caleb Williams has dealt, first of all, yeah, it's good receivers. Guess what doesn't really matter that much? When you can't block. The good receivers, they don't matter as much. Caleb Williams under duress. I bet the Bears this week in a teaser against the Arizona Cardinals. And why did I do that? The Cardinals had the 29th ranked pass rush in the entire NFL. 29th. That's what? Fourth worst in the NFL? Fourth worst? And guess what they did? They were in his ass the entire freaking game. They were in the backfield all game long. That O-line in Chicago is a travesty. That play calling in Chicago is bad. Caleb Williams, we thought, was given this amazing setup as a rookie to succeed because of Keenan Allen and DJ Moore and Robin Dunze and DeAndre Swift. And that's all pretty. All the toys are good. All the cars look great in the garage. Without that engine, that is the offensive line, you ain't getting them out onto the freeway. It just hasn't happened. And I'm not going to say that you should be unsatisfied with Caleb Williams yet. No way am I going to say that. This guy's too talented. He looks too athletic back there to believe that if the offensive line gets 15% better, 10% better, because right now, I mean, listen, 10% better is a lot for most offensive lines. For this one, it gets them up to like 20th, maybe, right? Like it's bad with the offensive line in Chicago. So if you're a Bears fan, if you're the organization, you are happy that Caleb Williams is your quarterback right now. Yeah, maybe a little buyer's remorse on not going for Jaden Daniels. Little recency bias there, sure. But Caleb Williams still checks out to me as a future really good quarterback in the NFL, if not a star. Matt Eberflus, on the other hand, doesn't check out for me. And my guess is that Matt Eberflus ain't the coach of the Bears next year. And that offensive coordinator, he gone too. So, yes, happy Caleb Williams is the quarterback of the Bears, not happy with the coach of the Chicago Bears and Matt Eberflus. NFC South. How about a yes, yes? Kirk Cousins, Raheem Morris, Atlanta Falcons? Yes, yes. And yeah, of course, we know what Kirk Cousins is. He's not the best quarterback ever. He's not the best one in the league, but you signed him and you know exactly who he is. And what is Kirk Cousins doing? Moving the goddamn football, throwing goddamn touchdowns. And you look at the stats and you look at it right here and you see Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons. Who are they in the ballpark with from a passing standpoint this year? In the same exact ballpark from an EPA per play perspective as Jordan Love and the Packers, San Francisco 49ers, Kansas City Chiefs, Philadelphia Eagles, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Cincinnati Bengals, and Detroit Lions. Nice, right? Nice. You have all these weapons, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts. Guess what Kirk Cousins is doing? Getting them going. Darnell Mooney. How about that? So yeah, if you're a Falcons fan, you signed Kirk Cousins. You knew exactly who he was, and you're getting Kirk Cousins. Satisfied. Yes. Raheem Morris. Yes. Falcons are competing. Very good. Raheem Morris, first year coach with them right now. Feels good. Feels nice. I like it. Tampa Bay. How about Baker Mayfield and Todd Bowles? How about a yes, yes? How about that? Same thing as Kirk Cousins, right? You have Baker Mayfield. You know exactly who he is. What do you want him to do? Be aggressive. Move the ball. Don't turn it over. Do all those things. What is Baker Mayfield doing? Moving the ball, even without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. This offense is looking pretty decent. I know they just played the Chiefs and lost in overtime, but goddamn, Chiefs have one of the best defenses in the league, and this offense still was okay without two stud receivers. Mike Evans comes back from his injury soon. You're going to see better productivity out of Baker. This team's been good, man. This offense has been good. Baker's been good. So, yes, yes. Todd Bowles, is he perfect? Nah, we know he's not perfect. But guess what? You got a defense playing pretty decent. You got an offense playing pretty decent. I'm saying yes, yes. If you're a Bucks fan coming in with expectations to compete for the NFC South title, you got a quarterback and a coach who are putting you in that conversation. Yes, yes to Tampa Bay. Carolina Panthers. No, and then question mark. I didn't even want to say no or yes for their head coach because Dave Canales. I mean, we're talking about Brian Callahan being dealt a poor hand. Dave Canales, famous for working with Baker Mayfield last year in Tampa Bay, working with Geno Smith 2 years ago in Seattle. I mean, what is he working with? Bryce Young and Andy Dalton and no receivers. Brutal out there. So, yeah, I don't think Panthers fans or organizations are satisfied with their quarterback position right now. But as far as their head coach, I mean, listen, he's going to live to see another day because if you fire Dave Canales after this season, after 1 year of this, what are you doing? I mean, he must be just a freakazoid in that locker room if you're going to fire him. So I think Dave Canales gets a pass. You see what happens next year. This team sucks. So their quarterback sucks. Everything about them kind of sucks. So yeah, no question mark. Sure. Okay. New Orleans Saints. No to Derek Carr. That's a pretty easy one right there. And then no to Darren Rizzi. It feels rude. He hasn't coached a game yet in New Orleans. Dennis Allen just got fired on Monday. So no feels rude, but it also feels right. Interim coach, I'm sure they'll play with some juice here in week 10 and be interesting. But yeah, end of the day, what am I supposed to say? Yes for a guy who hasn't coached a game yet? Am I supposed to say yes for the guy who just got fired? Like, no, they're a no. Sorry, Saints. NFC West, last one here. Arizona Cardinals. Yes. How about that? Kyler Murray, Jonathan Gannon. You feeling good? Kyler Murray leading a very suitable offense here. A little boom bust sometimes, a little bit of, magic out of Murray occasionally to make them go. But again, if you're the Arizona Cardinals and you're looking at your quarterback position, you're looking around the league and you're looking at Kyler Murray, you feel pretty good. And Jonathan Gannon now in 2 years here with Arizona is proving that his teams are going to compete occasionally above their heads. And yeah, occasionally they're going to lose the game they're finally favored to win, but they sit on top of the NFC West right now. And if you ask a Cardinals fan if they're satisfied, how could you not be? Yes, for Murray and Jonathan Gannon. Now, throughout the rest of this division, I'm going to say now, yes. Matt Stafford, yes. Sean McVay, yes. Brock Purdy, yes. Kyle Shanahan, yes. Geno Smith, yeah. I said yeah instead of yes, but yeah, I guess, right? Yeah. I don't think it's Geno Smith's fault that this team's underwhelming right now. That defense is not there. And Mike McDonald's supposed to be the defensive guru, but he gets a pass because it's his first year. He does. He gets a pass. Listen, Mike McDonald came over from Baltimore, just led one of the best defenses in the league last year in Baltimore. He leaves Baltimore. Their defense is not good. Not good. Now he's in Seattle and their defense is bad. I'm going to give McDonald the pass because of it being his first year. And Geno Smith, for all the, things that he could possibly leave on the table occasionally, I mean, this guy moves the ball with the best of them. This guy pushes the ball down the field with the best of them. I mean, DK Metcalf's been in and out of the lineup, and they're still kind of doing stuff. I think it's been disappointing for the Seattle Seahawks fans this year. They're 4-5 right now. They're still very much in the mix in the NFC. But if you're looking around the league again, what do you trade in Geno Smith for? If you had a chance to 1-for-1 Geno Smith, like there's a lot of quarterbacks you go, I'll roll with our guy, right? Like, is Kirk Cousins better than Geno Smith? Like, yes, he is. Maybe. I think. I don't know, right? Like, it becomes so jaded and so muddied because of what's around them, right? The Falcons have a better offensive line. They have, the weapons are probably pretty similar. I don't know, right? Like from a points perspective, from an offensive perspective, like they're kind of similar as well, right? Like they move the ball, they do a lot of stuff. Like, yeah, if we're not talking about age and we're talking about right now, like Geno Smith hangs with most of these guys. I put him in the same exact category as Baker Mayfield. It's like you have Geno Smith, you want him to push the ball, you want him to take care of the ball. Yeah, and he's not perfect, right? So like this about a Geno Smith. He's not perfect, but he's thrown some interceptions this year. He pushes the ball down the field. You've missed Kenneth Walker for a handful of games too. When they have him, they're a different offense. So yes to Geno Smith and Mike McDonald. McDonald gets the pass, right? So that's just kind of how I look at it. And I skipped over San Francisco and Los Angeles. But I know the Niners have been disappointing, but it makes sense, right? Debo banged up. Ayuk out for the year. Kittle's been actually really good, but McCaffrey hasn't even played yet. Purdy's doing a lot with little. And Shanahan. It's pretty easy there. So that's the whole league. Based upon what I'm saying here for the last 30 minutes or whatever, is this something that is shocking to you? How many yeses there were? How many yes nos there were or no yeses? Because from my count, I'm at 18 yes to quarterback, yes to coach. That was super surprising to me. And you could probably argue that I was being a little easy in some spots. But again, I'm talking about where we are right now. I'm talking about 2024. And then in certain occasions, I'm talking about the future. When I'm talking about Caleb Williams or I'm talking about Drake May, talking about, well, Jaden Daniels has been really good anyway, but talking about these young guys, right? And when I'm talking about first year coaches, giving them a little bit of a pass, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. Is Brian Callahan going to prove to be a great coach in Tennessee over the next 2 years? I don't know. But I'm not saying he's a bad coach now with the hand that he's freaking dealt, right? So right here, today we sit here with 18 teams who I believe are pleased with their quarterback coach situation. That's surprising to me. And when I watch on Sundays, I'm imagining more than 18 fan bases being frustrated and disappointed. Even though 16 teams win in a week where there's no buys. But there are a lot of teams out there that right now look at their quarterback and look at their coach and say, okay, let's go. Let's do this. And I'd like people to tell me which ones you disagree with. Which quarterback coach combo that I mentioned do you think needs to be reevaluated? To me, it's so clearly not a Stafford McVay or a Purdy Shanahan. You can tell me Geno Smith McDonald, sure. You can tell me that Dak should have been a no, fine. But overall, more than half the teams right now, in my opinion, are satisfied with their coach quarterback situation. And that's shocking to me. Because when you think about it overall, and when I asked that question in the beginning, I think most people would have guessed 10 to 12. That's what I guessed. Before I looked at every single one and looked at stats and broke down what I was looking at from a Sunday perspective and a Monday, Thursday perspective, and like really thought about it, I thought it was going to be 10 to 12, 18. That's wild. And if you look at just the quarterbacks here, just the quarterbacks, we're at 23. 23 teams of their quarterbacks who are like, yep, this is our guy, and we're rolling with him. And we're ready to roll with him. And that's crazy to me too. Because again, you're watching on Sundays and you're like, damn, some of these quarterbacks, man, what's going on? What's going on here? And I think I'm overestimating it. I think I'm not looking at it the right way. Because when I sit down and looked at every single team, like I just broke down, there are more quarterbacks who, I wish my team had as a Giants fan. A lot more. Almost all of them, right? Almost all of them. And again, those asterisk ones are probably the game changer there. Like, yeah, if the Bears could have Matt Stafford as their quarterback right now, like, yeah, that'd be awesome. But guess what? You have a number 1 overall pick with loads of potential and flashing some great things. Like, yeah, you're gonna be happy with that as a Bears fan right now. If you're Bo Nix and a Broncos fan, yeah, of course, you'd rather have Herbert than Bo Nix. But you just drafted this guy, and he's giving you some promise. He's making some plays. You're satisfied with the expectations that your team has right now. So it's just interesting to me. Would have much, much thought that number was closer to 10 or 12. 18 teams with a yes. Surprising. All right. Pete Kennedy, Subway Sports Talk. That's all we got now today. Little hour-long solo podcast ready to rip again on Thursday night with NFL picks. I was very disappointed in myself when it comes to NFL picks this week, man. God. I mean, the Colts couldn't hold on and cover. That one stung, but whatever. I kind of rolled the dice with Flacco against that pass rush against Minnesota. And then the Bears kind of crushed me, getting just run down their throat from Arizona of all teams, and their offensive line still just looking terrible against Arizona, again, of all teams. Not that they're a bad team, but like the strengths didn't strength for the Bears this Sunday. That's just, it just sucked. And at this point, I can't even remember my other pick, if I'm being honest. Who was it? Did I go 0 for 3? I went 0 for 3. Oh, God damn it. You hate to see it. That's all we got, though. Subway Sports Talk. We're back with more picks later in the week. We're back with everything on social media. More basketball talk. Basketball is really in a full swing, and it's super fun. A lot of good players playing their best ball right now, and you got to love to see that. So that's all we got. Subway Sports Talk. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review on your podcast app, Spotify, Apple, whatever it may be. Also, YouTube, notification bell, and subscribe to that as well. Social media at Subway Sports Talk. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.